So I will, let me just bring up, so yeah, sorry, that's what I was going to say. If you do have any questions, if you want to put them, either if you raise your hand or put them in the chat, and then I can come to you. But please do raise questions as we go through. So I will start by. So I'll start by just doing a quick demonstration of EBUScore teams. I mean, the programs all work relatively similarly. So if you're used to using EBUScore Pairs, you will see it all looks quite similar, and a lot of it works the same way. So the main menu is obviously the same. So if we were going to run a Teams event for the club, we go to Teams event, we go create new event as normal. Sorry, I'm joining. You'd fill in these details as you do normally. You've got the scoring. So for just a normal club session, you probably don't need to change anything here. Teams of 4 imps is probably what you want. You wouldn't generally use victory points in this if you're playing longer matches. So again, for a club session, that's probably not relevant. So yeah, fill in these details. You may not need to put anything in there. And okay. And then as with pairs, you would select the movement. So the way the most simple in the way that the most simple pairs movements, I guess, are Mitchell movements. The most simple teams movements are the American whist movements, and these work well if you have, for example, 9 tables. This is very straightforward because you have basically you just put out 3 boards on each table, and then you can play 3 board rounds against the other 8 teams for a total of 24 boards. So that works very easily. There are of course plenty of movements for other numbers as well, so that you can pick what's going to work best for your number of teams. But for now, we'll just do 9 teams because that's very straightforward. So you would do we can just take the odd tables American whist, and in the same way as with pairs, you can click show movement to see what it all looks like. So you can see which boards, which pairs are going to be at which tables and which boards, the same as with pairs. You can as with pairs, you've got the describe movement, so it will tell you what to do. So as I say, this is probably the most straightforward movement. Every round just begins with standard move. The east-west pairs move down 2 tables, dropping off the boards down 1. So that's very easy. So yeah, so once you've set up your movement, you just go okay and yes, as you would do. One sec, there are some more people joining. Yeah. Just as you would do for pairs. You can then you then go to your bridgemate scoring. Oh, got some feedback. Just go to bridgemate scoring. Okay, I'm getting some feedback, so I'm just going to mute everyone. Hopefully that will be better. Yes. So presuming that you're using BridgeMate, you would then go to BridgeMate scoring, and you would launch the BridgeMates in the normal way. You can set the BCS options, so set the options in terms of the things, the normal things here, what you want to do, and then go create database and launch BCS in the same way that you would for pairs. Obviously, if you're using a different kind of tabletop unit, or if you're just using travelers, again, you'll just be able to do it all in the same way as you would for pairs. So once you go launch BCS, then obviously the BridgeMate control software will start and add the tables in the same way. One thing that is slightly different is that for teams, it's usually better to get people to move to the first round and then put their EBU numbers in. So they put in the EBU numbers for the 4 people currently at the table during round 1, not their team. You can do it the other way, provided you're playing a regular movement, and you'll see that in set BCS options, under member numbers, you've got home table entry. So if you do want to do it so that they put in their numbers before they move to the first round, you can do that. But the standard way is to get them to move to the first round and then put in their numbers. So for that reason, you probably don't want to launch the BridgeMates until they've moved to the first round. Right. Oh, we've got something in chat. So someone's asking, what's the minimum number of tables? I mean, it doesn't matter too much. You will be able to do something with however many tables, and obviously with teams, because you've got your north, south, and east, west, and what am I trying to say? Sorry, because you've got your north, south, you're playing against another team, and your north, the score that your north, south achieves is going to be compared with the score your east, west achieves. So you can obviously play. Obviously, people play head-to-head teams matches with only 2 teams. You can play a triangle with 3 teams. So really, any number of teams will work fine. Okay. So once they're underway, you'll be able to come to the player names and check the names in the normal way. I will just, as an example for now, quickly put in some. Okay, so you put so if the players have put in their EBU numbers correctly, then obviously, or their club numbers correctly, then the names will be there automatically. And anyway, so you'll just do your corrections. The one thing that is different is that you do need to go to seating lineup and click here, initialize all seating lineups. So this will put, so if we had proper names, they would appear here, and the presumption is that the pair who started north-south for the team will remain that way, and similarly for the pair that were east-west. But if for a later round they do swap over, which for some movements that won't be possible, but if you have a movement where there is a break where you can score up halfway through, then after that point they might swap over. And if that were the case, then so say team 1 at round 5 have swapped, so they're north, south, and east, west. So what you would do is just click on these and then put the C and D, which would be their real names, obviously, normally, as north, south, and the A and B as east, west. And then if they're going to stay that way for the rest of the session, you can say copy above team lineup to end of session. And if we then print the lineup, we can now see that A and B were north, south to begin with, and then east, west for the later rounds. And that, so if the players just stay where they started, I mean, if they stay in the orientation where they started throughout, then you don't need to worry about that. But if they have swapped, then you need to do that in order that the NGS is correct at the end, because the NGS will be done on the pairs score, what's called the cross imps, and for that it's looking at how the individual pairs can performed. So you need to know who was sat north, south, and who was sat east, west. So yeah, then you will receive your results in the normal way, and at the end you can go to reports and display your ranks in the normal way as well. Obviously there aren't any results at the moment, but that all works, I think, much the same as pairs, and then you can go to internet reports and do your upload to Bridgewebs and your upload to the EBU in the same way as for pairs. So in the interest of time and having some other programs to show you, I will leave it there unless we have questions. Let me just look what's in the chat. Do you always reset server when starting BridgeMate, BridgePal? So yes, if you're starting, let me just go back to the, so if you are starting a new session, then you would always reset the server. If you are resuming an existing session, but if I just let me demonstrate. If I've come out of this session, either intentionally or unintentionally, and then I realize, oh, that session's still going on and I need to resume it, then I would click on the event, retrieve event, BridgeMate scoring, and you'll see here it says inactive. And this is the same for pairs and teams, by the way. You'll see here it says inactive. So if people were putting results in fact, if I quickly put results in, because I do have a BridgeMate here. Board 1. Okay, so you'll see the result has come up here in BridgeMate control software, 3 no trumps equals, but it hasn't appeared here because this is inactive. So if I want to resume, I would go create database, but when it will now say, do you want to start a new session or resume the session? So I just say resume. And then if, in this case, BCS is still running, so you'll see that this has now gone to active and it's straight away read in the new result. If BCS isn't running. So if I just come out again, so I go back in, bridgemate scoring, create database, I choose resume, and now this is where I would launch the BCS without reset server, because I'm resuming the session that was already running. So I'll now go launch BCS, and it will say without server reset, this recovers a previously running session. So I just say yes, and it will then just carry on. So that was a long-winded way of saying, if you're starting a new session, then you should reset the server, and it will. And if you're resuming a session, then you wouldn't reset the server, but the program will tick the box. If you're starting a new session, it will tick the box, and if you're resuming, it won't tick the box. So you shouldn't need to do anything with that tick box. David has asked, what is the movement in EBUScore for head-to-head or just two teams per swap at halfway? So if I come back, let me come out of this event, create a new event quickly, two teams. So I can do this one, for example, two teams of four 8-board rounds, or if you don't want 8-board rounds, you perhaps just want, sorry. So we probably want more like two 12-board rounds is perhaps more what you were meaning. Yes, pair swap at halfway, yes. So if we look at that movement, it appears that the teams are just staying the same because we've got north, south, 1, east, west 2. So that is correct, because from the team number point of view, they are staying the same. But in the seating lineup screen that we were looking at, that's where you would put in the swap. So you would put in that one team had swapped over. So that the movement you want is the two teams of 4, 2 times 12-board rounds, and then in the seating lineup, you would indicate that one team had swapped over for the second round. Trevor said you mentioned that you might not use VPs, but if teams don't play all the boards, then imps might produce an unfair competition, so VP conversion might be better even within a club meeting. Generally, the teams will be playing most of all the same boards. There will, of course, be some disparity because there'll usually be one set that you don't play. But generally, if it's like two or three or even 4 board rounds, then generally you wouldn't convert to VPs. That's the general advice. I think that's already been answered by Jeff. Oh, he also actually won't. Right, one more quick question. So Alexa said, what do you need to tick on the report? So let me just go back into the movement we were looking at. So in the reports, if you just look at ranks, this will just give you this. What I could quickly do is if I just use this a bridgemate test program, which will give us some fake data, and then I can show you more easily what it looks like with results. One sec. Okay, we now have some results. So if I just show ranks, well, if nothing's ticked and I just do ranks and display on screen, then you get the teams, the names of the players in the teams, the imps and the boards, which may be all that you're, for a club game, that may be all that you're really interested in anyway. Obviously, you may want to show the master points as well. But you can also do like matches won. So that's saying like it looks at each round as a match, a mini match. And you can see then how many matches people have won and drawn. You might want to do match, if you do matches by round or by team, as it sounds like, it basically gives you a cross table, so you can see that, well, team 8 did well against team 6, less well against team 2, etc. And obviously there's dashes here because team 8 did not play team 8, that being themselves. Right, one more question. Chris said, what is the best movement for 4 or 5 teams? So we just quickly go to, if I create a new movement, a new session again, I can quickly show you. So 4 teams effectively, well, obviously you've got, with 4 teams, there's obviously 3 other teams to play, but so you could play 3 8-board rounds, but because, so you could do that just with this movement here, but you would then need, because that's actually only going to, you would then, in order to play 24 boards, you would actually need to set that to 32, because there would be an 8-board set going out on each of the 4 tables. So you could do it that way. You'd have 32 boards in play, and there would be 8 boards that each team didn't play, which could give a bit, might not be ideal, because if those boards, the boards that a particular team doesn't play are particularly swingy, it might give that team less opportunity to earn imps. So with 4 teams, you might well play the circulation method, which basically just means the same boards we shared between all 4 tables, because you can use fairly easy to share 8 boards between 4 tables. That's just 2 boards each, and just pass them around. So if we look here, for that movement, you've just got the same boards being played, and the team that you're playing head to head, so 1 versus 2, 2 versus 1, 3 versus 4, 4 versus 3, etc. So that's probably what I'd advise for 4 teams. For 5, you can, probably just the normal, this normal movement will be fine, and you will need 30, well, in order to play, in order to play 24 boards, you'll need 30 boards, because you'll put out 6 on each table. Okay, David is asking about movement for county match teams of 8 with, okay, let's take that offline, David, because otherwise we're going to run out of time. But there are,
is it worth just mentioning pivot teams as well? There are specific movements for pivot teams because they are special. So you have,
yes. So just in case,
so it's just
in case,
but there are movements because the pairs are moving. I mean, you might have shown one example, yeah.
Sure. So just in case anyone isn't familiar with pivot teams, basically what this means is that you play with all the people on your team through the course of the evening. So we can have this one probably.
Yeah.
So the basic,
the Bavin method is the best.
Yeah. And if we go to the description, it will hopefully tell us what to do. Yes, okay. So you can see here it says 2 rounds, 4 boards played with each partner. At the end of round 2, East-West return 10 table score and change partners. And then at the end of round 4, East-West return to home table score and change partners. So you would then set it up like a normal movement. We just go, okay, yeah. And it's in the seating lineup where you would put in the changes. So initially, obviously, you'd have 1 and 2 north south, 3 and 4 east west. Then for round 3, so once you've changed partners, then you need to make sure that everyone changes the same way. And the easiest way is usually that north stays where they are and the other people move clockwise. So west goes to east, east to south, and south to west. So I'll try and do that correctly. So we move these all out of the way. So player 2 is the original south. So player 2 would go to east. West. So they'd be on the east-west side. The original east, which was player 3, would become south, so they'd go on this side, and 4. So basically, you would set it here as to who was north south and who was east west, and that means at the end it will all be correct for the cross imps, and will process correctly for NGS, and each person will be shown as an individual because they will have played with 3 different partners. Right. Okay. I think that's enough on the teams for now. I will, but absolutely happy to take any questions either at the end or contact me offline later. So I will quickly do a demonstration of Swiss. I'll quickly do a demonstration of Swiss pairs. I'll quickly do a demonstration of Swiss pairs, and then I'll hand over to and then we'll talk a little bit about club pairs and club teams. So So presume everyone, understands how Swiss pairs work. So basically, the first round is randomly assigned, but after that, pairs are assigned to play another pair who is on approximately the same score as they are. And if you were going to, usually for Swiss pairs, you play slightly longer matches, and you do use VP scoring. That's victory point scoring. So the match result gets converted to a score between 0 and 20. Usually if you're doing this as a club session, you probably just play 5 5-board matches, 25 boards. That's achievable within the normal club session length. So we'd go to Swiss pairs event, create a new event. Again, fill in club name, club number, etc. So then we'd go to the movement details. So if we were doing 5 5s, we would put in rounds of 5. Low board would be 1. That just means that's the first board number. Section, we'll just call our section A. Oh, I've got this one. There we go. Tables. Well, you need to put in here the most tables you might have. It doesn't matter if it's more than you have, but it can't be less than you'll have. So we could put in 20 to be on the safe side and you will see in a moment what you do to, so if you've set up for 20 and then you get 17, for example, I'll show you in a second what you do to get rid of the other ones. So in terms of these things, scoring methods, Swiss pairs, yes. The VP scale, almost always for Swiss pairs, you just use the discrete scale. Basically, there's discrete or continuous. Discrete means that you'll get a whole number between 0 and 20, which is usually what we use for Swiss pairs. The Butler drops you can ignore. Convert to VPs is usually, yeah, as I said, that's usually what we do. Oh, boards per round. Someone's going to point out I should have changed that to 5. Thank you. Okay, so now we can go OK, and it will confirm with us in the way we're used to. Swiss pairs, VPing, total number of tables 20, so up to 40 pairs, 5 board matches, 5 rounds, boards 1 to 25. Fine. So we say yes. Event 1 will control the whole event. Great. And then what we need to do is go to the assignments. Now this is what you do each round. You go to the assignments, and this is where it works out who's going to play who. So for round 1, it's going to be very straightforward because it will just make everyone play the next numbered pair. But this is where you first need to get rid of extra pairs. So we've set up for a maximum of 40 pairs, but say that we've only got 17 tables, for example. So we need to get rid of 6 pairs. So you must get rid of the highest numbered pairs. So we just get rid of them here. So now we have 34. And you need to do that before you do the assignment, because then it will assign with the correct number of pairs. Also, if you've got a pair who need to stay stationary, because they've got limited mobility or whatever reason, you can put that in as sitters. So say pair 9 need to stay still, you would just click pair 9. They would be starting at table 5, because it will be, the way it works is 1 and 2 will go to table 1, 3 and 4 to 2, etc. So 9 and 10 would be at 5. So you just say pair 9, table 5, and it will just mark it as a sitter, and that means that pair 9 will still play the appropriate people in terms of their score, but they will stay where they are. So we just go to assignments now. Allow triple is to do with if you've got an odd number of pairs. I'm not going to try and go into that right now due to time constraints, but happy again to discuss that offline. So we can say do round 1 draw. And as you can see, as I said, it's just assign them down the field. So that's easy. So then we would go return, bridgemate scoring. We do create database and launch in the normal way. So this is actually the fake bridgemate, but it means that we can produce some results quickly, and then I'll show you. So you can see here, EXP is expected, RX is received. So you can see that it's received, well, almost all the scores. This one's been, we're still waiting for this one, but that's fine. We can still go ahead and proceed to the next round. So, so once you've got all your scores in, let me just go and put that one in so that we've got, what was it, 15, I think. Okay. Right, so you can see now we've got all our scores, so we're ready to, so you're ready to assign for the next round. So we go to return, we go back to assignments, and you do your round 2 draw. So it says round 2 assignments complete. So we will see that pair 9 have stayed at table 5 where we told them to, and if we click show ranks at selected round, I would always advise doing this. You can then just check that, because you would expect to see that the top pairs are at the top table. And sure enough, 16 and 33 are playing each other at table 1. 21 and 32, the next two, are playing each other at table 2. So that's what you'd expect. So it's working, and it's I mean, it will always work, but I for one like to have the comfort of just checking that it's doing what I'm expecting. So that, now we've done the assignment, but now we need to send it to the bridge mates so that they know what's going on. So now we just do return bridge mates, and you will see here it says update from round 2, and we just click update movement from round 2. You say yes. And the new movement will then be sent to the bridge mates, and on the bridge mates, the players, provided the players are still sat at the table where they played round 1, they will be able to see where to go for round 2. You can see actually the automated program has already given us our results for round 2. So we would just then repeat the process: return, assignment, do round 3 draw, pair 9 is still at 5, show ranks, 16 and 26 are now leading, 32 and 9 are next. So 16 and 26 at table 1. Obviously here, 9 has to stay at table 5, so they have gone to, so 32 has come to them, and then 13 and 27 are at the next highest table. So again, that's fine. So we then just go back to bridgemate scoring, update the movement, say yes, send it to the bridgemates again. So that's how it works. And you can, so obviously at the moment we've only played 3 rounds, but you can go to return, reports, and then you've got your ranks. We can just display the ranking list. We may want to, which has just got, obviously the pairs, they'd have names in as well, obviously, and their VP score. You may want to see the match scores. So if we click for match scores as well, display that. Then you can see here, obviously each match, they're getting a score out of 20. So yeah, so you can see how you're doing. So hopefully that makes sense. Any questions on Swiss pairs? Swiss teams, I won't bother to demonstrate Swiss teams. In the interest of time, I won't demonstrate Swiss teams, but it works very much the same way. Well, actually, let me just, there are a couple of things different. Let me very quickly show you. I will very quickly do this. So Swiss teams, create new event. This is all the same. Movement. So mostly these days we use what's called Australian. So just to explain, Australian means that the north-south pairs stay stationary, and the east-west pairs just go off to the home table of the team that you are playing. Historically, Swiss teams was played the same way as Swiss pairs, where if your team was leading, you got to move to table 1, and your home table for that round was table 1. But that means everyone has to move every round, which is more disruptive, it takes longer, and is also difficult if you have players who need to stay still. So what most people do now is play Australian, the north-south stay still, the east-west just go off to the table that you're playing. So that's important. So usually you want to choose Australian there. If you're doing 5-5s, like we were just saying, let me put set this up the same. So round 5, tables say 20. Again, that's just a maximum. You can reduce it in a minute in the same way. Result mode, you want board scores. Well, provided you've got, provided you're using some electronic scoring, then board scores, you can just, if you weren't using Bridgemates or something and you just wanted to put in match results, you could do that. And then boards per round 5. Triple is to do with if you've got an odd number. Again, I'm not going to go into that now, but but then after that, it works much the same as Swiss pairs. We would right. We would go to the assignments. Again, if we have fewer, we'd get rid of them. There was then this thing called Australian round 1 zigzag draw, which is useful just because if you don't do that, if we just do it without that, you can see it's going to have 1 versus 2, 3 versus 4, which because they're sat, that means that they're always going to be sat next to their teammates, which isn't awful, but it's not great either. So what we generally do is the zigzag draw, and that just means that for the first round, it sends them across the room, so they're not right next to their teammates. That was just a very brief introduction to Swiss teams. So that gives you an idea of how that works. Apart from that, it works much the same as Swiss pairs. Okay, someone was just asking in Swiss pairs, if you run this over 2 sessions and there are some different players in session 2, how do you change the player name? The way that you would do it is you wouldn't change, you would, right, let me just quickly demonstrate. So basically, on the assignment screen, we've got our 34 pairs playing. If on the next round or a later session or whatever, one of the pairs is replaced by a different pair, then what you would do, don't just change the names of the same pair, because that gets confusing for NGS and master points and various things. What you can do instead is go to missing pairs, bring in a new pair, so 35, and that can be your new pair, and then you get rid of whoever has disappeared, say 25, whatever, it doesn't matter, whichever, the right pair, obviously. And then when you do your round 4 draw, you will see that 35 have been included and 25 are missing. So that's how, if you do need to change pairs within a Swiss pairs, that's the way to do it. Someone has asked, when do the names get input for Swiss teams, at the beginning or after the first move? Again, the same as doing multiple teams, like we talked about earlier. It's better to do it after they move for the first round. So yeah, get them to move to the first round, then start the bridge mates and tell them to put in the EBU numbers of the 4 people currently at the table. Okay. So I think that's quite enough of me talking. So we will, I will hand over to Jeff to talk a little bit about club pairs and club teams, and I can also bring them up on the screen while he's talking.
Do you want to give me control of the screen, Jonathan, and then I'll just load up and talk. Yeah.
Do you want to share your own screen, or do you want me give you control of this one? I can do that.
So, well, just so I can look Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So Reese, in the last 3 or 4 years, we produced some club versions of the scoring programs. They're not really very well known at the moment. At the moment, there are versions of all the 5 programs, but the ones that you can download from the EBU are Club Pairs and Club Teams. And essentially, they have the same facilities, but with slightly less, hopefully slightly more, less crowded screens, less options. So they tend to just cover the things that most clubs use. And we've been using them at Bolton Bridge Club for over a year now. And a very simple set of instructions. You can write the instructions down on just a few lines, and everything's people seem to be able to understand it a little better. So basically, okay. Do you want to give me control, Jonathan, or? Okay, so the front menu looks very similar, and then things are slightly, there's basically a slightly shorter route. So that's basically creating the event. So create the event. The details screen, they all are very similar, but very much cut down menus. Okay. The set movement is very similar, but again, a slightly cut down screen without all the extra facilities that usual thing. Select the tables, whatever. Six tables, standard Mitchell, whatever. What's the way you should utilize the program at the club level is you create your own set of club movements. So there's a background job which the scoring administrator needs to do. Rather than seeing all these movements, if you click on the club, and it's not filled in at the moment, but you would just have those movements that your club wants to use. So basically, when the person who's running the program turns up, they see there's 8 tables, 7 tables, 6 tables. The only movements they'll see in the menu are the ones that have been set up by the club. And alongside that, if you have, and again, we do this at our local club, you have all set standard movement cards. So we have all the movement cards for up to 8, 9 tables, which include howls and hesitations. And above that, it tends to be a standard Mitchell. But basically, the background work to this, to make everything very simple, is to just always have the option on club and for your scoring administrator to set up a club movements file. How do you enter a club movement? Right, okay, well, I'll show you a way of, let's just cancel this. So in the preparation beforehand, we'll go back to the main screen again. We go into the movement library. Okay, and those are split up into standard movements, club movements, and special movements. And so essentially, to set up the club movements, you retrieve a standard movement. So let's retrieve, say, that one. Retrieve it. And then that's the movement. Then you can save it in your club movements file. Okay, so return. And if you want to say a movement for 6 tables, the one that you're going to use your local club, you retrieve, saving club movements file. Yes. So if we now go back to running a competition, turn, pairs events, set movements. And if we choose that 5 tables club, that's the one we just put in the club movements file. So essentially, for all the numbers of tables from 3 up till whatever, 14, you put the movements that you're going to use in the club movements file, and that just simplifies everything. So somebody who's not familiar with movements or whatever can just literally say, right, I've got 5 tables, that is the movement I use. Okay. Okay, so select movement. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Confirmation message. And going to BridgeMate scoring. And it's pretty much the same thing, but a much reduced screen without. In fact, it actually has most of the options in EBUScore, but they're a bit hidden away. It's effectively you just create database, launch as normal. There's a little entry over there for suspicious scores. I don't think that's in your version, Jonathan, but that's a later addition. But if you want to see suspicious scores anyway, you just use the report screen, and they're in the, can we print off the movements as movement cards? Yes. So to print out the movement as movement cards, there's a couple of places you can do it, but you generally do it from the movement library. So let's go to the club movement site. So you can show the movement. Okay. Or you can print off, and this is again is something we've done at the local club. You can line print the table cards, and then you can laminate them, whatever. So if you do it on, can we do it on the do PDF, Jonathan? And that'll just show the movement cards. I don't know if you've got the do PDF printer there. There you go. And then you print those, then you can laminate them. Okay, so the rest of it is pretty similar. You've got report screen, a separate internet screen. The general way each screen works is shorter menus, and I'd encourage you to try it. Have you got anything to add, Jonathan? Or?
Let me come off. Sorry, I think I was on mute.
Oh, okay,
anyway,
yeah.
No, I think that's good. Yeah, I think yeah, for clubs that are used to using EBUScore, they may just be happy to carry on. But I think for people who are learning it for the first time, or who are moving from another scoring program, they may well want to use this because as Jeff's shown, it's just it's a bit simpler. It doesn't have quite so many options. The thing with EBUScore is that it's also used for EBU events, and so it does have lots of functionality in it that we need for EBU events, but isn't necessarily relevant for clubs. So yeah, this is probably yeah, better focus for clubs. And the club teams is the same. It's just like the EBUScore teams, but cut down in this way. And if you're running teams of 8, there was a question about teams of 8 earlier, but if you're running teams of 8, it's I think easier to do it from club teams, because do you want to quickly show, Jeff? Or anyway,
yeah. Okay, so
let me
actually, do you want to just, okay, you need to just start it up, get rid of this, yeah.
Well, I can just show.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you can just do teams of 8, and I presumably need to set 2 sections.
You need 2 sections. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a bit easier to do it here than in EBUScore, because Jeff's made it simpler in this version. So the way teams of 8 works is that you set it up as 2 sections, but it's very straightforward. You just do it here, 2 sections, teams of 8, create your event. It will say single session teams of 8 event with 2 sections. You say yes, and as you can see, you've got your sections A and B. And then you would do your set movement, and as you can see, you've got your 2. You would just set the movements for each section. So yeah, that's nice and straightforward. Is that right? Someone's asking, is there a way a new scorer can access this tutorial? So we're going to, the recording will be made, someone's joining a bit late. Is there a way a new, so we will make the recording of this meeting available as on the EBU YouTube. And I will, we will. So that will be available in a couple of days, and then people will be able to access it there. All the club seminars that we have done, the recordings are on the YouTube channel. So there are some plenty of useful information on different topics there. And when people do try it, if they do have any questions, then please just get in touch with me. I'm always happy to help. Someone said, can you set the club default number of boards down to 18 or 21? Yes, absolutely, you can. So just go back to pairs for a sec. So yeah, so if we just go to all the movements, so 1 by retrieve there. So yeah, so this is for 8 tables, 9 rounds, and this is defaulting to boards per set 3. But if we wanted to do this as boards per set 2, because we wanted a 19 board, because we were going to put 18 boards, not 27, then we could just change that to boards per set 2. And if we just then save it like that, and similarly, you can change the rounds or whatever you want to change. Then you could just save it in the club movements file. And if we look now, that one that we just did, show the movement, you can see it's now saved it with 2 board rounds. So yes, you can tailor them to how you want them and then save them. Alexa's saying, make it make it clearer where the seminars are on the YouTube. We will do something about that. Okay, well, I'm conscious it's 12 o'clock. We have run our hour, so I think unless there are more questions, we can wrap up there. Thanks to Jeff for firstly for developing the programs in the first place, but also for helping with the seminar. And if people do have more questions, as I say, just please contact me offline. I'm always happy to help. Okay, I will end it there, but thank you all for coming. We will be doing more club seminars later in the year. And if you have any topics that you would like covered, please do let me know. That would be useful, and because we want to put on things that are useful to people. So thank you.